Casey says, how can we effectively balance competing and training when your goal is to do both, but not to sacrifice the training? All right, so there's a fine balance between competition and training. If you train too much but don't compete, it's going to cause some issues. If you compete too much and therefore it impacts your training, it's going to cause some issues as well. So the big thing we need to look at initially here is what is the aim? What is the goal? What is the end result that we're looking for? If you want to be a CrossFit Games athlete, then everything needs to be geared towards you getting to the CrossFit Games. If you want to be a recreational exerciser who plays the sport as a social thing on weekends, then maybe it's not as important that your performance is absolutely peaked because you're doing it for the enjoyment of the competition. So first work out what you want to be able to do. If you want to qualify for the CrossFit Games, then it almost becomes a binary decision. Is doing this competition going to increase my chance of doing that, or is it going to decrease my chance of doing that? And these binary decisions then make it very, very simple. It's easy to choose which one you should be doing if you know where you're trying to get to. If you don't have that end goal in mind, if you don't have an outcome goal in mind, it's going to be very difficult here to make a decision. Now, if you compete too much, it obviously means there's going to be a disruption to your training because you're going to have to taper more because you're losing training days on the days you'll actually be competing. So too much competition can be a bad thing. If you compete too much, it can lead to a long-term drop-off or reduction in your performance. If you don't compete enough, we can also have some issues which we'll talk on again. So a lot of people make the mistake of not competing enough. They are so 100% in the training mindset. They're training so hard and so focused for an end result that they don't do these competitions. Now, a couple of things that can go wrong if you do this. Firstly, you're losing the opportunity to accumulate a set of data points. You can get so much information from competition. You can see where your strengths or weaknesses are. You can compare yourself to other athletes and see which events are letting you down. And quite often at the end of competition, there's a very obvious and blatant imbalance, something that's missing in a certain area. Now, you don't want to be too reactive to this because there are only a small number of data points that we can get from a competition. So if your muscle ups haven't been good in the competition, don't then do nothing but muscle ups for the 3 months after that. That's being overreactive to the competition. So react can be dangerous, but respond can be very useful. And having these data points allows you to respond. So if you're not competing, you lose your ability also to train the craft of competition. There's a real craft to it. What you're doing with your nutrition, your pre-exercise routines, your recovery routines, what your mental state is like. It's that match day fitness, it's that game fitness, and it's something that you just cannot get from training. So it is important to incorporate it in there. It's a practicable skill, and you have to undertake this skill to be able to practice it. Of course, you also need to look at the length of your taper. So if you're really focusing on an event, a competition as a major focus for you, you'll have to have a longer taper. So you'll have to be looking at 5+ days. Maybe if the event's not as important and it's just a social thing, you can just have 1 day off training. So if you have too many of these events that you place too much importance on, it is going to cause you some troubles. So don't put too much importance on every single event you're doing, on every single competition you're doing. Have a balance, some that are important, but some that you're just using as an opportunity to train and practice the skill of competition. So again, the takeaway here, it depends on your goals and priorities, but my general advice would be if you're looking for one major peak during the year, maybe you want to peak for the CrossFit Open or for regionals or for the games. If you're looking at one major peak, then I would be saying 2 to 3 competitions throughout the year is going to be a good thing. And again, these can be competitions of different degrees, but it must be something that you practice. You can also set up a competition setting or environment in training so you can tick some of these boxes in terms of competition craft and skill development as you go through your training as well.